Good evening. The tragic death of Chloe Valentine and failures of our child protection system have prompted the state coroner to call for drastic reforms. He wants child killers to have subsequent children taken from them at birth and young abuse victims to be permanently adopted rather than placed in foster care.
A grieving family hopeful the scrutiny of Chloe Valentine's death will save other children.
We feel that Chloe's been vindicated a little bit, and so has our family, and that she's been honoured in a really important way.
State Coroner Mark Johns recommending one of the biggest child protection shake-ups in South Australia's history.
Nothing less than a massive overhaul of Families SA and the culture and training of its staff will suffice.
For 6 months, the coroner examined Families SA failures in the lead-up to Chloe Valentine's death at the hands of her mother, Ashley Polkinghorne, and her boyfriend in 2012, today delivering 20 recommendations, including changing laws to remove children at birth from parents responsible for the death of a previous child.
Our worst nightmare was Ashley having another child and not being able to have the power to protect that child.
The coroner also wants adoption considered for abused children because of a lack of foster carers.
Permanent removal to adoptive parents must have a place in South Australia's child protection system.
As well, managing the income of neglectful parents and urgent re-education of Families SA staff whose failures in this case were frightening, foolish and dangerous.
There was a lack of analysis, a lack of clinical supervision and a lack of leadership.
The coroner found Chloe's mother was a manipulative and accomplished liar who regarded her child as a possession.
Unfortunately, Families SA took the path of least resistance, and the whole history of its dealing with Ashley is a history of drift, irresolution and aimlessness.
I think it's really important that we start making the move now, not in a few months, not in a few years, but today.
Court reporter Kim Robertson is live at the Coroner's Court. Kim, has the government indicated whether it will act on the Coroner's recommendations?
Well, Brenton, as we just heard, all Chloe's long-suffering family wants is for this heartbreaking chapter in their lives to be over and for the government to make the necessary changes to prevent other tragedies like Chloe's. Unfortunately, they'll have to wait because just after the coroner delivered his findings today, the state government stressed that any changes it did make would take time.
It's been 3 years since Chloe Valentine died and 6 months since the inquest into her death began. But still, the minister, who's been given the job of acting on the coroner's recommendations, says a response will take time.
I can't give you a definite answer to all of those particular recommendations right now because we need to look at them.
And despite the coroner uncovering a litany of failures by Families SA, the government is standing by the departments.
I have confidence that Families SA is largely populated by very dedicated people. Whether they have been getting it absolutely right and whether the legislative tools they're working with have been appropriate is a matter that we're going to be looking at.
But John Rao wasn't prepared to guarantee all of the coroner's recommendations would be implemented, something others insist must happen.
What's important here is this is not just merely a set of words, but it's rather a manifesto for action.
It's time that this government took responsibility for what is today the end of a very sad chapter in our South Australian child protection history. 9
News asked to speak to the high-profile head of Families SA, Tony Harrison, but we were told only John Rao would be talking on behalf of the government or the department, and he was making few promises.
I don't want to mislead anybody that simply changing a piece of legislation or something of that nature is overnight going to create a completely different culture.
Jared Brevy, 9 News.